All right, let's talk about the purpose of asset management. And in our previous clip, we discussed Global Mantic's recent acquisition of several small firms. And with this acquisition, the security engineers will be tasked with understanding the assets acquired, the exposure level of those assets, as well as applying security controls to protect those assets. So taking a closer look at these assets, IT asset management would include tracking the number of assets and their location, identifying the various types of assets that they've acquired, tracking the location of those assets, monitoring the health and utilization of them, as well as maintaining those assets by leveraging patching, upgrades, and/or repairs. Now, as far as assets goes, we have three main types: infrastructure and hardware-related assets, such as our servers, end-user workstations, and equipment. The next asset type we have are software assets. Now, this primarily includes software and user licenses leveraged by our workloads or end users. So think about Microsoft Office licenses or Adobe Photoshop licenses. Last, we have our data assets, and this includes any sensitive or meaningful data which is used to primarily run the business. Now, we'll dive deeper into these various types of assets in our upcoming clip. So for now, let's discuss why asset management is important. First and foremost, asset management provides visibility so that we know what type of assets we have, how many we have, where they're located, and any meaningful and relevant information that we have related to those assets. And once we're armed with this information, we can perform the relevant risk analysis so that we can understand the risk related to those assets. Visibility also feeds into vulnerability management, since we can identify common vulnerabilities and exposures related to our assets based on that asset's model or version. Another important benefit to asset management is the information we gain by understanding the monetary value of our various assets. So from a security engineer perspective, we can determine the appropriate security control to implement in order to protect our various assets. And just like we discussed in our previous clip, the cost of our security controls should never be greater than the asset we're protecting. So once again, don't use a $1,000 door lock to protect an asset that's only worth $50. Now, one of the most important aspects for an organization related to asset management is compliance, which is why I'm giving it its own section. Now, compliance comes in various forms. Health regulations, which are designed to protect personal health information, like the US government's HIPAA regulations, or compliance can come in the form of privacy regulations, like the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation. This regulation is designed to protect the personal data of individuals located in the European Union through a series of data protection requirements. And compliance doesn't just come in the form of government regulations, it can also be industry standards, like the payment card industry data security standard, which places strict information security requirements for organizations that process credit cards or debit cards. Now, this is just the surface of all the various compliance frameworks, standards, and regulations, so be sure to check out the references section for links to more of these standards, regulations, and frameworks. I say all that about compliance to say this: failure to meet compliance will result in possible legal actions and financial penalties. Not only that, but non-compliance can also restrict your organization's business operations, thus adding to that financial burden. So as security engineers, we need to prioritize compliance when designing our security controls and solutions.